Hey everyone, Tegan here, aka Gold Moon Creates, with another fabulous design using products from Natalie May Scrapbooking. I'm using her Sharon and Allison collage paper, Tim Holtz collage paper archives, and a new set of stencils Natalie's recently released called Mega Alphas. It's a fabulous set. You actually get 2 stencils and the letters as masks as well. So you're kind of getting like 3-4 products in one. Really great value. So I'm doing a double layout page today, and here I'm just going through the paper archives from Tim Holtz to see which ones match with the collage paper I have chosen. I'm using the water brush technique here to go around my collage paper and get sort of the dimensions, and I sort of know how I want her to sit on my page. I have shredded up. I've ripped up some of the collage papers for background, and I'm kind of just having to play with placement. I take my time doing this, and I'm kind of thoughtful in the way that I choose where everything's going. I want it to be a busy background, but I don't want to take the focus off of my focal image and my focal pieces. My gel medium of choice is the Liquitex brand. I really like its consistency. It's not as thick as some of the others, and that's only for when I'm working with really nice, delicate collage papers. If I'm using Dina Wakley transparencies or something that's a little bit thicker, I do like a thicker gel, and I tend to use Dina Wakley's gel medium for that. So now I'm going through my paints and deciding which ones complement the colours already in my collage paper there. And I've gone with Art by Marlene's Tobacco, Tuscan and Sand. And I'm also using Sage and Aloe by Dina Wakley. So now what I'm doing when I'm putting the paint down is I'm being purposeful again about the placement of it. I really want to blend the collage paper so it all seems seamless and it doesn't look like I've just stuck paper and then chucked some paint on. So, but I also, especially with Dina Wakley's paints, which are very opaque, I also don't want to lose too much of my collage paper in the background. So you can see I'm sort of working between them, but I'm also sort of trying to blend them in. I'm not worried too much at the moment because you can see there's quite stark lines in between the paint and the collage paper, because I'm going to come over and further have all the layers start complementing each other and working together by using some stenciling. Stenciling over the top of painting, especially if you've done a collage background, is a really great way to get a really nice blended effect. So it looks like, you know, all of the elements and the pieces were created as one piece instead of, you know, putting them all together as separate pieces. I'm paying particular attention here to my my lady in the corner there. I'm not sure if that's Sharon or Allison, but it's one of them. And now I'm coming in with some stenciling. So the colours I've chosen for my stenciling, you can just see them, really subtle. I'm trying not to take away from the collage pieces. This design in particular is all about typography for me. So that was Natalie May's July theme for her challenge and of the artist trading cards as well. So I don't want my stenciling to overpower my focus pieces. The stencils I've chosen for my mark making are more Natalie May scrapbooking ones. The first one I used was called Marks and Dots. And this second one here I'm using, it's a script stencil, up there with absolutely one of my favourites. I use this stencil in a lot of my designs, and that one's called Take a Chance. I like adding a lot of scripts to my art and my work. I'm an avid reader, so I really enjoy words and lettering, and typography was right up my alley. So I really enjoyed the July theme, which is really good. So you can see it's popping there, but it was quite subtle. So now I'm going to start working on my focal piece. So my image of my lady is not actually the focus piece for this page. I actually really want to draw attention to the lettering. So I'm using Nat's fabulous new stencils called Mega Alphas, as I said before, and I'm going to use some black gesso. I used to be a bit cheap with my paint when I first started, and I was actually buying the, you know how Aldi have their sales, you know, every couple of years they bring out, a couple of times a year, They bring out art supplies. I was just using their black paint. But what I find with that kind of cheap acrylic paint is it's very runny and it actually bleeds under the stencils really badly. I've learnt to love gesso, especially the black gesso. I made a bit of a mess there. I'm just wiping it up. Not only because it's thicker, and especially when you're using focus pieces for a stencil instead of just mark making. Mark making, you can get away with mistakes and bleeds under the stencil and things like that. But when you're doing focus pieces like this, you want something crisp and sharp. So I'd always go for a better quality product. And in this case, obviously, I'm using the black gesso. In a moment, you're going to see I do make a bit of a mess. And this is the other reason why I really have moved over to using better quality products. You can see just to the right of that H, and then I tried to fix it with my finger and made it way worse. I've just grabbed a wet wipe and I can remove it quite easily after I accidentally make a further mess from the wet wipe itself. If I was using cheaper paint, I wouldn't have been able to do that. It would have just left a big black smudge. And again, because these are my focus pieces, I would have been a bit upset by that. So I'm being really careful with my placement here. I'm being thoughtful about it. I don't want to have it look like this is a standalone piece. So I'm going to put some of the lettering right up to the edge and off the page. So you can see my W up there in the right-hand corner is actually going off the page. And now I think I'm moving to an X that is also going to go off the page. And what this does for your page and for your art is it draws the eye from one side to the other, as if you were actually reading a book, but it looks like, it's all flowing seamlessly from one side of the page to the other. And it's not all just pushed into the middle of a page, so to speak. So it gives your eyes something to move around and focus on. Now I'm going in with a little bit of stamping. I'm using the Natalie May stamp, and it is called... Take a Chance, I believe. It's actually my favourite script stamp. Again, along with... No, sorry, Take a Chance was the stencil. My apologies. It is one of my favourite script stamps, and I do use it quite a bit along with the Take a Chance stencil. So now that my focus letters are in place, I'm just going back to my my girl there in the collage paper. She's been really washed back into the background now. So I'm just using a couple of gel pens to give her some further detail and to make her pop just a little bit more. Even though she's not my focus piece, I don't want her washed into the background either. So I'm just going to extend her hair out a little bit. I'm going to go in with my black pen into her eyes and make them a little bit darker and sharper. And then I use some white gel pen for some highlights on her as well. I'm always really nervous about doing this part. And when I first started adding my own details over collage images, I was very self-conscious because I'm not a naturally talented drawer. It's something that I'm challenging myself to learn and get better at. I've actually been also drawing faces as my own focal pieces in art journals, which is, that's a big thing for me, not having natural talent. My father, on the other hand, has a lot of natural drawing talent. So, that skipped a generation with me and went straight to my daughter. So as well as adding the black and white to her, I also used the duo markers by Art by Marlene and added just a little bit of colour into her cheeks and her lips and just a few highlights down in the flowering below. Again, just to make a pop. Going back to my focus lettering now. Goodness me, it must be late in the day. So I'm just using a life of colour white thin marker to go around them again, just to pop them off the page. So they're not blended into my background piece. They're actually standing as a highlight out. And when I sat back, I thought, does need something else. It needs a pop of colour that's not already in there. So I grabbed my Pointy Branches stencil from Natalie May Scrapbooking, and again the Art by Marlene duo marker there, and I'm just going to add some edging around the page. Leaves and sort of natural elements are another favourite of mine, and I'm sure they're a favourite of many of you. All this is doing is sort of framing the page. You can see in parts I've actually gone over some of the focal pieces as well. Again, that's all about the blending. So it all looks like it's supposed to work together. I'm now using the Art by Marlene collector's book, part of her new release, and it's the Quotes Golden Oldie. I've cut a piece out there, and I love that they're stickers because, no glue and it's just quicker and faster. But also I've actually just cut it into pieces as well because I didn't want the quote to stick in one chunk on one side of my page. I wanted it again to flow from the left to the right and draw your eye down and across the entire artwork. So now that I've cut that out and stuck it in, I'm just going to outline it. I'm pretty sure I outline a bit of a border as well. I always go with the double line technique because I don't have the steadiest hands and drawing a straight line is difficult. Anyway, that's pretty much all of the elements. I think I finish it off. Yeah, here I go with a bit of dotty stamping. I'm using the Funky Fossil dotty stamp that was designed by Claire Steed. And that's just going to bring a bit of pop of white and just to highlight certain areas as your eye moves along. I really hope you've enjoyed this page. I really enjoyed creating it, and continue to be fantastic, courageous creators.